Happy to be joined by Mackenzie Dern, who's looking to go undefeated in 2023. Very important matchup on Saturday against Jessica Andrade. Now, Andrade's a little bit different from a lot of the fighters that you've faced previously. What unique challenges do you feel like she brings to the table?
For sure, the knockout power. Um, Also, too, like how she just keeps coming forward. Um, like Angela, for example, she would come forward, which surprised me, but she still would walk back, and she was a little more movement. And Jessica's a little bit like more thicker and kind of just, I mean, she's like a bull, man. So I feel like that impact can be good, but it can be hard to, for me, who's when we're from jiu-jitsu, right? You're not really used to going against someone's strength. You kind of use it against them, like the leverage and everything like that. So, I mean, I think those are her biggest, and the fact her experience that she's like more than 10 years, one of the first, or she was the first Brazilian in the UFC, fought three different categories. She doesn't. I don't feel like she's intimidated easily. She's fought all the types of girls, striking, some jiu-jitsu, wrestlers, everything. So I feel like to kind of gain the respect in the fight is going to be tough.
Well, honest question for you. What are your chances of winning this fight if it never gets to the ground?
um, I mean, I think my chances of winning, even if it's standing up, are good. I feel like even though I haven't really been able to display as much, I feel like I have more, more weapons on my striking, just as in like kind of movement and like kind of finally I'm one of the longer one of the longer fighters, and that's never really happened. Usually I'm one of the shorter ones. I'm chasing, so I think as long, and now I'm kind of understanding this whole, the range and distance thing that I never understood that. For jiu-jitsu, we're just always like in your personal space all the time, so to be able to like understand like, okay, my fighting range is going to be different than hers, so as long as I stay out of her fighting range, especially with her knockout power, I think even if it doesn't go to the ground, I can still win this fight pretty good.
I know you aren't, but do you feel like a lot of people are dismissing Jessica Andrade? She's lost three in a row, but I think if people look back at January, which is this year, that fight against Lauren Murphy, it shows that she certainly still is able to impose her will on opponents.
100%. And I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people think that, but I mean, it's like I think all her other fights, they were all like short notices. She also had like she also she's fought all the different types of people, so she's been in this for 10 years. If she's anything like me, like a loss isn't like a dismotivation, a loss is like motivation, so she's had 2 months to fight for this fight, or to train for this fight, and I really think she's going to come out just like wanting to like kill me. No one wants to lose 4 times in a row. And I mean, like you said, just in January she had a great fight against Lauren Murphy, which is a friend of mine that I trained. She was one of the girls that helped me get into MMA. So for me to be able to be fighting Jessica now, that's like fight Rose. I mean, she's had great performances. The former champion. I don't think that even the three losses, the way that they were against the fighters that they were. I mean, I know how hard Yan Xiaonan hits. You know what I mean? I took a couple of those overhand rights. Those punches. I got wobbled. So I mean, they weren't, and especially for accepting the fight like two weeks notice or a couple weeks notice, it's like they weren't bad things. So I'm definitely training for this fight and prepared for Jessica, not like dismotivated Jessica, for like a motivated Jessica who wants to like get back in the win column.
Yeah, I know that, and I'm not sure if you can answer this. You got divorced, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, and Jessica got divorced this year. Do you think that the reason she's fought so frequently this year, 4 times, and now this is going to be her fifth time, is to kind of take her mind off of that part of her life because the training and fighting is something that you can use as a tool to, kind of stay sane almost when there's chaos going on in your personal life?
Yeah, like the fans can watch us like let out all of our anger on another person. It's pretty great. Maybe. But I mean, honestly, I think it's more like the money fact. I mean, even me, like this fight is still like basically just to pay off like my ex, you know what I mean? So it's like I imagine for her too, it's like it's crazy like as the fighters, and you know that we kind of have to like, you need to like pay out of a relationship kind of thing. So we're basically fighting to get out. I believe it's more like a financial thing. Even for me, it was like a more financial thing. Like the decision to not be in a relationship anymore. that's like easy compared to everything else that comes with it. You're like, oh my gosh, like I need to get punched in the face, and it's not even like to pay my bills, it's to pay someone else's bills. It's just, I imagine that in how she said before too, kind of I've heard a little bit her story. I think we're kind of in the same, which makes you frustrated, you know what I mean? And which I think it just kind of does kind of go off what you said, because we need to, take care of this financial thing that comes with the divorce. You need to win. You need to get those wins in, and if you lose, then you got to get another win. Because you just got to keep getting paid right now. Like it's such a crazy phase. So I imagine how her mind is, but for sure the fight is something that's like consistent. You know what's gonna happen. You're either gonna win or lose. There's gonna be punches and elbows and knees and takedowns and submissions. It's not too much out of control. And that's, I mean, all I know to do is to fight. You know what I mean? So if there's anything I can do to try and win and get money and focus on being who this new person is after divorce, Mackenzie, like Jess Mackenzie, not what I was before my last book or Jessica's last page. I think that focusing on the fighting does help you just kind of like find your route and where you want to get to.
Do you think that it's impacted her ability to win these fights? I mean, we do have to be realistic. Her losses are to Erin Blanchfield, Yan Xiaonan, Tatiana Suarez. I mean, she's not facing easy competition here, but at the same time, do you think that her head isn't fully in fighting right now?
Yeah, I mean, since I think it's like kind of more financially driven, I think, like I'm probably a regular fighter, wouldn't accept all these tough opponent fights so short, like one after the other, after each, result of each fight, you know what I mean? Would probably, with the manager and everything, try and make like maybe not easier decisions, but, something that maybe would be more favorable for her, but I mean, it just goes to show like she's a beast, she's down for anything. And yeah, I think, that could be like kind of some pressure, like, man, I need to take these fights, but man, they're just like tough girls, like really tough girls. And all of us too who fight her, we're kind of like, we know it's like, it's a good moment, we need to take advantage of this moment. At least not, I mean, not me, because she has a full camp for this, but you want to take advantage. But Jessica isn't an easy opponent. It's like one of her punches is like knocks you out. It's like she has wars with everyone basically. So I think she has that. Like that's why she accepts them too, is because she has that in her, that she knows that if any of us make a mistake, she can win this too. You know what I mean? No one would accept the fight too that you think you're gonna lose. So. But I definitely think the focus isn't able to, to go and get the belt again. You know what I mean? Like as if for me, Yan, Erin, and Tatiana, we're all going after the belt. Like none of us have felt that before. None of us know what it's like to get the belt. That's our goal. So the focus is a little bit, driven to the belt and being, like more intelligent on the fight and stuff like that.
Your last three of your last four fights, you've been on the poster. You've been in the main event, 5 rounds. Are you happy, a little bit relieved to not be on the poster this time around and get a 3-round fight under your belt with hopes that you will be fighting for the championship maybe next year?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, at the same time, it's like you kind of get used to doing the five rounds, So especially like, when that endurance is something that favors you a lot. I'm like, man, having like 25 minutes, you like 15 minutes, it passes by so fast. Like if you lose the first round, or even if you lose the second round, it's very like, it's way more, I don't know, not more pressure, but you don't want to give up any round with 3 rounds. You know what I mean? 5, you can kind of like, okay, the third round, I can kind of rest a little bit, kind of, recover. And then, you know what I mean? And you have 2 more rounds and stuff like that. But 3, it's like, no, you can't give up any round basically, so it's a little bit more, for me, who I kind of just make things happen. I don't even know how. And sometimes they look like I'm making mistakes, and then I end up like, it ends up working out in the end, like I go and kick the head, and then I fall on my butt, and then they come in my guard, and then all of a sudden I'm submitting. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't even plan on doing that, or things like that. but with 3 rounds, you know, you don't want to have a mistake like that happen, you know, like where I fall on my butt when I did a kick and then she's on top of me, like ground and pounding me because she has like a good base or something like that, you know. So it's a little bit more, for me, I prefer the 5 rounds, you know, and being back to three. But it's like, man, I think fighting in MSG, there's nothing can compare. It could be three, it could be 1 round. If it's here at MSG, you know, if we go and knock out and submit in the first, like, you know, 3 minutes, that's awesome, you know. So in the end, you know, just to be here in New York and fighting former champion and to be able to showcase at least what I hope I evolved from one fight to the other, I think it's a blessing.
That's kind of the problem with MMA's scoring system is like, and why referees are so hesitant to take a point away, right? Like 3 rounds is not a lot of time, and if you lose 1 round, you need to win 2 rounds in a row
Yeah.
sometimes, and there's a lot of pressure in those situations. But I really wish that they would almost go back to the pride scoring system or the system that one championship uses, where it's like, okay, that person won the fight. Like we don't need to look at it round by round. I know it's more difficult for judges to score that way, but at the same time, I feel like that paints a better picture of a full 15-minute fight.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, now that I'm starting to understand the whole like range thing, I understand like how you can kind of be in the fight and not be at the fight too. You know what I mean? Like you can move around and kind of not engage in the. And for me, who I've always been someone who's engaged the whole time. You know, and I'm kind of understanding how some of the other fighters can, you know, can fight and play the game. You know, it's like a competition too, you know what I mean, at the same time. So there is strategy to it. There is all that stuff behind it. And now I'm kind of understanding like, oh man, so out of 15 minutes, you can kind of like not fight for like 10 of those minutes, you know. And for people kind of that have Jessica or me, you know, that we're like, we want to go into the war, you know, and make it like a dogfight kind of thing. You know, we feel like we've done so much in 15 minutes, and then at the end we're like, what? We didn't win, you know. It can be frustrating, but I'm starting to get the better understanding of that now. So it's whatever the UFC gives me, 3 rounds, 5 rounds, I just to finish in the first minute if we can, you know. That's always going to be the goal.
Well, Mackenzie, thanks so much for your time. It's your first time facing a former UFC champion yourself, Jessica Andrade at MSG this Saturday. Appreciate it. Look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Nice talking to you.